Hello folks, this is Michael Grubb from Evolved Ministry. We are still in section 1. So section 1 is about the ego. And what we're going to be doing today is identifying fears. Okay, so one of the things that I talked about in the book, and I have also put on other things on YouTube and whatnot, is the fact that we come into this world with two basic fears, which actually is down to one basic fear. We have a fear of the dark and the fear of death. There's also the fear of being alone, but all of those three come down to the basic idea of non-existence. Okay? And so the most fearful thing for an ego is to not to be recognized. Okay? If we think about what the ego is made of and the reason why the ego even exists in the first place, it's a mode of separation. It's one of those things where it must be recognized in order to be activated. Okay? Other things must be aware of it. So what we want to do here is identify, like I said, there's two primary fears there, which again it comes down to one primary fear. What we need to do is sit back and create an exercise so you can identify your worst fears. Okay? One of the reasons why you want to do this is you want to know what makes you tick. Okay? You want to know what your own personal triggers are. Alright? One of the things that holds us back in life from going forward and doing the things that we want to do is there's always a fear attached to something. Okay? So whether it be our family that does it, then be very careful. Don't do this, don't do that. Whether it be ourselves where we decide that we don't want to strike out and do the things that we're supposed to do, okay, just because we have this inherent fear of actually maybe possibly succeeding and then changing the way we live our lives. Okay, a lot of us get comfortable. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to sit down and you want to think about all of the things that ever made you fearful. All right. Were you bullied? Okay. Did you have a problem with authority? Okay. Did you have a hard home life? Okay. There could be any number of things that could have happened. Okay. Do you still have the fear of the dark? Do you still have the fear of non-existence? Even to this very day, think about it, most people have a fear of death, because that is a fear to them of what they perceive to be the unknown. Okay, so it's very important that what we do here is, again, we make a long list. And some people don't have many fears to list. If you don't have any fears to list, then there's no reason to go this route. But I will say this, that in order to really fully understand who you are, you're going to have to know inside and outside what it is that makes you tick, because when you start creating here in the future, okay, once you start honing yourself to the point where you can create and make it manifest it right there in the 3D reality, you don't want to be interweaving a bunch of fearful things within your creation. You want to have already identified these things and have worked through them. Okay, because things do have a tendency to recycle. Things do have a tendency to pop back up. Okay, if you've never actually broken a particular cycle, it's time now to go ahead and identify what that cycle may be. And so, one of the things that I did was I would make a list, and then I would go through this list and check off every single one of them. And I would dissect the reason why this was a fearful scenario for me. Whether it be telling even the truth about things, okay? That's one thing that causes people a lot of fear, okay? We, as a society, have been accustomed to building walls around us, and so that way we're not easily penetrated, all right? But the fact of the matter is, if you do that, you never know thoroughly what makes you really tick, what those triggers are, what those mechanisms are. If you're constantly building up a wall around you, well, then you built it up so deep and so tight, maybe nothing affects you anymore. But that fear could still remain, and that fear could still recycle to weave itself into the reality that you are creating. So again, you want to identify these, and then systematically go through every single fear and ask yourself, why did that make me fearful? Okay? Ask yourself, what was the result of that fear? Okay, did you get into altercations because of this fear? Was it something that kept popping up and ruining things that you were doing? All right? How is it that this fear affected your decision-making process in life? Then you have to determine whether the fears that you have are even tangible, whether they're even palatable. Like, for instance, me living in Bloomington, Indiana, it makes no sense for me to have fear of sharks. Okay, I am not on the coast. I am nowhere near the ocean. So that's a fear that you can sideline and just say it means nothing because it has no merit. Okay, and then you have to decide which of these other fears have been in a problem that has interfered in the process of my life for me going forward. All right? And like I said, you look at these things and you say, what was the effect? If I had the chance to go back and redo what this fear had done, would I do it? Okay? How would things have changed? And then you look at the present day now and you think to yourself, okay, if this fear were to recycle, how would I handle it now versus then? Okay? So you have to really dissect things and understand within yourself that these things all existed there for a reason. They were all there meant to test you. But what did you learn from the tests? Are you still playing around with the same fears? Okay, so understand that unless you actually break a cycle and learn from the cycle, you're always still within it. The point is to never make the same mistake twice in life. Okay? The first time it's a mistake, the second time it's a choice. Third time it's just foolishness. Okay? So the whole thing here is we want to be thorough in how we identify the triggering mechanisms that exist within us. Some people have a fear of being alone. Some people have, again, a fear of success. Some people still have the fear of the dark. Some people have fear of what they believe to be aliens, extraterrestrials, or quote-unquote demonic entities, but these are all fears in which you animate. Understand that none of those things would even be in your periphery if you did not actually put energy towards them. Everything requires energy. The minute that you start observing something or you become aware of something, you're adding and applying more energy to that scenario. So you have to understand that if you end up having a fear that recycles and resurfaces in your life while you are at the point of recreation and creating everything, it could be the very thing that comes back in there and unravels all of the successes. So, like I said, what I want you to do is make a very comprehensive list of everything that had ever caused you problems in your life, that caused you anxiety, fear, panic attacks, anything. And you really need to break things down. And what I'm going to do also is I'm going to actually give a list. I'm going to have something there that's designed specifically for you to write up, and then you can go through it, make your check marks, checklist, and then write things up accordingly. And then these will be the things that we will work on and we will address within you, so that way we clean out all of the problems that are in the closet. And that way you as a creator can get beyond those things and create a really beautiful existence for yourself and others. Eternal love, Michael Grubb from Evolved Ministry.